how did you not know? We had truancy at this point. So how did you not know where I was? And by the time you got there, I was already there.
Yeah.
It was like nobody cared about my education or my well-being. I was able to get away with a lot of different things that I should never have been.
Wow.
Wow, 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 wow. Who's back?
Mm.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Y'all know how we come in here. Raised Voices is back.
Yes.
We have a phenomenal woman here that is going to talk to us about her personal development journey and how that birthed an entire organization. I keep telling y'all there's unsung heroes in the communities. Y'all don't
Mhm.
believe me? It's all right. When we get to episode 100, you'll believe.
Yeah. Yes.
We're on our way. We're
Yes,
on
we
our
are.
way.
Yes, we
So
are.
we have Miss Jasmine Clay. All right. And
Yeah.
clay is a molding.
Come on.
Okay. It is a raw element that you use to
Yes.
mold structures into what you want them to be. So that's all I'm gonna say. I ain't messing with y'all today. I ain't messing,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, Clay, that's her last name. And
Hmm.
her organization is Saving Our Tomorrow. Okay.
Yes.
She
Yes.
has the elements within her to form and formulate some answers to our now problems. See that? Y'all gonna start with me?
Mhm.
Mm.
I'm hydrated and rested. Watch this. Just like y'all know, got the protein water, all natural vegan. I'm good. Woman's best. Shouting y'all out. One day y'all gonna sponsor me. I'm just saying, woman's best. Vegan all the way. And it
Yes,
tastes
ma'am.
like the flavors you said. Thank you. Thank you. My mango pineapple tastes just like that.
Come on. Come
So
on.
listen, as you guys know, we always start with the word of the day. We're gonna have three word of the day today. Okay. As you go up and as you meet certain people, you got to customize the situation. And so
Mhm.
that's what we're going to do. So we are going to make sure each of us are able to dissect and say the relevancy of the word of the day. I'm going to read it today, and then we're going to have Ms. Jasmine go, and then we're going to have Miss Sounds do the spa version to get us all to breathe and inhale and exhale. I
Yes.
You
got
know
no
I'm good for
right. I got no camera
it.
today, but y'all know how to do it already. So our word of the day is from Miss Maya Angelou. And it says, do the best you can until you know better. Then, not when, because we need y'all to be on the other side of
Mhm.
transformation. Then, when you know better, do better. You understand
Mm.
me? This is big. So we gonna have Miss Jasmine tell us what does that mean to her, and then I'll take a stab at it, and then I'll have Miss Sound lead us into the spa room.
Oh, okay, okay. So for me, um, how I look at that quote and what she meant is we're not given a manual or guide for this life.
Mm,
And we're gonna encounter some things that we just don't understand. It's not something that we're used to. It wasn't a part of our upbringing. And you navigate that as best as you can. Some people conform, others just adapt to their environment. And I believe that's what she means by that. And then once you learn how to navigate those waters, you do that. You do so, you follow
Mm.
through.
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that. My stab on it is it's in the Bible, right? Without doing the actual scripture, but paraphrasing. When you know better, you need to do better. And you have to study to show yourself approved, right? So it really means that you have to be the investigator and detector in your life of knowledge,
Mm.
right? And when you have obtained that knowledge, and we're looking for healthy knowledge, I'm not just saying any kind of information, but healthy knowledge, when you've obtained that, you got to use it, because if you don't use it, you still have no power. So you're still stuck.
Yeah.
pretty
Mm.
much, right? So that's what I glean from this, is that we all owe ourselves first, that if we're in a stuck place that doesn't serve us, go figure out how to get unstuck. And then, my gosh, if you move even half an inch, can you help somebody else that's still sitting over there on the block that you used to sit with? Try. They
Mm.
may not want to move, but try. So that's what that says to me, that even when I find some ugly things within myself, even though I've been serious with my personal development journey, I realize there's still deeper I can go.
Yeah.
And I owe myself first to
Yes.
go there. And then, even as I'm progressing, not perfecting, I tried that. That thing failed royally in my life. I was miserable. But as I progress and I've gotten a little further, have these conversations like this that's going to help me not only keep progressing, but hopefully pick somebody else up off the block. It sounds,
Mm.
I try my
Yeah.
best.
No, that was good. That was good. Both of these are so good. Um, when I think about the quote, I think about what it has brought up for me in the moment is just the trajectory of being able to use my voice, get comfortable with my voice, feel empowered by and use it to empower people. Um, I think that in the beginning of any journey where there's something buried under the ground, so some diamond buried under the ground, I think that part of the excavation of that is not knowing fully what to do with it, but also just being like a baby in a sense, just being okay with babbling for a while, right? Until you
Mm.
know what better is, just babble and just speak. And as babies form and grow, the world around them and their natural development just makes sense of things, puts things together until they know how to speak full sentences and stuff. So when I think about that quote, I think about it's essential to babble even before you have the right things you should say or know how to say or articulate, and trust in the natural development of the formation of the words that you need to say. So that's kind of
Yeah,
where that says
I
to me.
agree. I agree. Because we
Yeah.
do hear a lot of people now coming out who we believe have made it say, I did that afraid. I didn't even know it was going to have that impact.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went out there and did it because I felt like I had to or I needed to. But it's not that I knew the entire impact, right? But I did it anyway. And then to see it impact in a positive way, it is nothing I could have predict. So
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of what you were saying, just go, because sometimes when we wait for someone to come and rescue us out of these situations, the rescue doesn't come, and we got 20-25 years waiting for what? And then we then create regret within ourselves because we wasted time thinking someone owed us to come back. Meanwhile, we owed us to walk forward.
That's it. That's it.
It's, but it's hard to swallow that pill.
It
Miss
is.
Jasmine,
Yes,
let's
ma'am.
get personal on Raised Voices. Who are you?
Well, that is a tough one. Um, at this point in time, I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. I can't say what I am
Mm.
because for so long I was a soldier. I was in the military. These are the things that I did, so it defined me.
Mm.
Mm.
And since I retired, since last year, it has been a struggle to find out who I am without that side of my life.
Wow.
So it is a new journey, a very scary journey.
Yeah.
But to define who I am is very compounded, I think. I'm simply me. I have a lot of titles, but at the end of the day, when you strip those titles and it's just Jasmaine, I'm still working to find that woman and what she likes and what she wants and who she is.
Mm.
Yeah, I like that. Let's take it from, so you served.
Yes.
What made you want to serve? I know that might seem like a crazy question, but I'm just not going out there protecting our borders in that way. I'll go feed somebody though. I'll go.
Right. Give me
You
a
know
little
what I'm
water
saying?
gun.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
gonna pay for you to go into a program to get clean, though. I just
Yeah.
don't know if I have that other courage. So when I meet someone, I just need to ask because I'm just maybe I
Yeah.
don't know.
We
I
can
ain't
do
gonna
that.
lie. I can do the other stuff, but the rescue missions and going there and doing certain. So tell me what attracted you or caused you, if attraction is the wrong word, caused you to even want to go there.
So that's easy. I remember it to the day. It was my 20th birthday.
Mhm.
I was sitting waiting for my best friend to come down, and I had at the time a 2-year-old, and I was taking care of my son and his father. I was in a domestic violence relationship, so working, going to school, and taking care of my child, it was like I was a single parent. And I was only 20. I just turned 20.
Yeah.
I lived in the projects, so that was a whole nother story in itself. A lot of fighting, a lot of different things came with it. But I seen a friend or an associate, I can say, and she was walking past. She had on her ACUs, and I was just like, "How do you do that? How are you able to wear that uniform and still come home every day?" And she broke down to me what the New York Army National Guard was and our role and what we do. And she was just like, it's really simple. And if you want to do it, I can give you the number to my recruiter. At that point, I felt like I didn't have many other options because I felt like if I didn't do something, I was going to end up in a real bad situation, just off of my environment alone. I've always been a go-getter, but in that environment, it was like a hole, like something that just kept you stuck. And I knew I had to get out in order to help my son, in order to help myself. I knew I had to leave.
So connect back because we have started a conversation on domestic violence, Ms. Sound. We have a couple of people coming in, family services, and doing that conversation. And it seems to be showing up a lot more for us. So if whatever you're willing to share, was the entry into domestic violence because of how your childhood was that influence of friends, or was that just, hey, I was just immature and wanted to do my own thing? Because it comes from different areas for people, and
Yes.
I never like when people make it seem like it's one thing that caused someone to end up in that. Nobody's ever planning to get into a relationship that's gonna hurt. Like, no one's planning that, right? So
Yeah.
if you're able to share what kind of ended where you realized that you committed to that, what was the background that ended up that in that place?
So that did come from a lot of different things. That came from my childhood trauma, me not being seen. I didn't feel like I was seen. I felt like a lot of expectation was placed on my shoulders. I was always, she's the good child. She's the favorite niece. She's the one that's going to babysit your kids. She's the one that can do all your kids' hair. Like, this is just who I was, but I didn't feel like I was extremely depressed as a teenager. And when I got into a relationship with this person, I felt like it was somebody I could trust. He was my brother's best friend. And of course, you're never supposed to break that guy code. So our relationship was hidden. So it started off wrong from the beginning. Being 16 years old, like, this was my crush. Like, he played basketball. He was just the person you wanted to be with at that time. And he was rapping, he was doing battle rap and all of these things. And I was singing. And it just made sense to me in my 16-year-old mind that this was someone, I should succumb to the advances of.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking that he knew he shouldn't have been talking to a child, or that he had already had a child, and he was on a whole different wavelength from me.
Yeah.
So once he started to turn, because that the mask don't stay on for long.
Oh no, ma'am.
So once he started to turn, it was frightening because I knew I couldn't say anything because nobody knew. So like we would even be in the same house with my whole family. I lived with my family. My brother's room was directly across from mine, and we'd be in a full-on fight. Like, he'd be choking me out, but it was quiet. I didn't make any noises. I didn't scream for help. I didn't, I was scared of the reaction or the lack of reaction.
Yeah.
And then it was so many different elements there
I want
because
to
of
say to
who I
you, if I
was.
was there, I would have came and rescued you. But like, I want to come right now. I know this is
Felt
years
like
ago,
it.
but like right now, ooh, I
I
have not
felt
gotten
like it.
emotional on a podcast. That is crazy right now.
Yeah,
But like right
it was
now,
here.
I want to come and rescue you. So I want to say, I promise you, if I knew you back then, he'd be taking both of us out because no way. All
And I
right,
hit
this
it.
time you're gonna have to help because
I
I
hit
haven't
it.
gotten
Yeah.
emotional yet. I'm trying to keep my composure. That bothers me.
It
I,
bothers me now as an adult.
it bothers me.
Um, wow. Yeah. I I hear in your story the narrative of really the responsible kid, the good girl,
That was
and
me.
with that, I can resonate a lot with that. But my question is, I think a lot of what we don't people don't know about the good girl, the responsible girl, is that that girl is holding the weight of the world and nobody even understands, right? And so there are situations like the one you just described where um you hold a lot, you hold it in, and it's so that everyone is okay, things are not rattled on the outside, but you are holding so much in your inner life that you probably don't even understand at that young age. So can you talk to us about that, the weight of the world, holding that, and how hard was that for you? Do you see that now in your life?
Yeah, I absolutely do. So trauma responses, right? They say that the first time you experience trauma, even in childhood, that's the reaction that you usually stick to. And that's the response that you continuously give when someone or something hurts you or betrays you. That's the same response. And the first time I heard that was like 2 years ago, and someone was speaking about it and mentioned it. And I was like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I hid everything. Everything. I was molested as a child, right?
Mm.
And, we had these classes, we had people, telling us, if something happened, these are the steps that you could take. We had Dollar Teacher back then. We had so many different campaigns running for the youth, right? So we knew what to do, but you didn't know how the reaction was going to come.
Mm.
And my mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was really young. So if she wasn't at the hospital, she was at the bingo hall or Atlantic City. Gambling was her thing. And we spent a lot of time with others, some who didn't pay attention to the children. So the children do things and they experiment with a lot of things. And my mom had took in her siblings' children. So I lived in a house with 19 other kids. So I got to break this down so you can get the composition of the family, right? We stayed in this apartment. It was 2 apartments together. So we had 2 bathrooms, different things. They had to take the kitchen out of one. And there was a lot of space in there to hide and do things and not get caught.
Mm.
And that lights out period for us as a child, it was really different. I can remember back to as early as I was 6, like those assaults and what they were like, and the other peoples that joined in.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now we're dealing with that when we get home at nighttime, right? So when you go to school, I'm excelling, right? Because this is what I love. This was my
Escape.
chance to get away, my safe space, but I could never tell anybody because
Sure.
nobody could hurt my family. This was my family. I had to protect them. But while, my brother is joining a gang, my sister's joining a gang, they're doing different things. I got siblings that's under me. And all I know is what's happening to me can't happen to them.
Mm.
And I tried to prevent that. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to with my sister that's directly under me, but the baby was never harmed.
Mm.
I just took on a lot. Like when my mom would take us to therapy, it was like a split thing in Columbia Presbyterian. And they also served people with like HIV and AIDS. And we had this one lady came in, I had to be about 14 years old. She came in and she just looked so sick in the face. And my mom is the type of person, she's very social. She's social butterfly. She loves everybody. She wants to talk. She wants to help. It's really hard for you to dislike my mother. And I'm a lot like her in a lot of ways when I put my face on when I leave my house and do certain things. But this woman had this baby and she was the foster mom and the baby was born with AIDS. And the baby had to have its shots. And I remember her saying this to my mom, and she was just like so disgusted. She didn't want to take this baby in to the doctor's office. And I looked at her and I was like, can I take her? Little black chocolate baby. I'll never forget this baby face. But I took this baby in his room, and my life is full of moments like that, just helping people and doing different things and being the good kid and always looking for the pat on my back, even when it came to school. So carrying that weight on my shoulders, it was like I couldn't make a mistake. So everything that a normal teenager did, you know, experiment, different, I hid all of that. I learned how to become really, really sneaky. And that was up until, you know, my mom got sick and then she had to go into the hospital. And I would leave, my dad would send me to school, but I'd go straight to the hospital. And this went on for a long time. It was like maybe 6 to 7 months. And I ended up doing a lot of things and missing a lot of schoolwork. And still, that attention wasn't there for me. Like, how did you not know? We had truancy at this point.
Yeah.
So how did you not know where I was? And by the time you got there, I was already there.
Yeah.
It was like nobody cared about my education or my well-being. I was able to get away with a lot of different things that I should never have been.
Wow.
Because everybody was dealing with their own things. And it became, these are the steps you have to hit to please your parents. And everything else you can push to the side or just hold in. And at 14, I was diagnosed with chronic depression. And I started taking antidepressant medication. They gave me Zoloft.
Yeah,
About 3 to 4 months in, that was my first attempt on suicide.
Yeah, Zoloft always leads there.
It just got to the point where like all I could think about was the molestation. All I could think about what happened from there. Or I could not focus on me. I couldn't be a kid. I didn't know how to deal with these emotions. My mom was always big on faith and, you know, counseling, different things. And I had been in counseling most of my life.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't from who I needed it from.
Yeah.
And it didn't really make a difference in my life because we had all of these programs and different things since I could remember. So it didn't really make a difference. But that
mom wasn't doing life with you though.
No, it was like everybody.
I think that's part of the problem. If I hear you, mom was there in a physical sense, but like you said, so traumatized by her reality of life that she was also in a sick place and she wasn't doing life with you. And so you're alone in that situation with a whole bunch of people around you. You're alone.
A lot of people around me that I was taught I had to trust. So there's a difference between freely trusting somebody and someone forcing you to. This is family. This is how you love. This is this. So what I learned as an adult now, I grab a hold onto that. And even though this person could be trying to kill me, I could still be like, okay, we could work it out. We could pray about it. We could do these things, but I know this person is no good for me. But it's in my foundation and working through that and identifying my triggers and what causes those reactions and going back to it has helped me understand a bit more of why I am the way I am.
So let's park there for a minute because boy, I hear generational curses so loud right now in my spirit.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't know why we do certain things. Like we really don't know because there's not one person in the bloodline that's sitting down and saying, let me school you, baby.
Yeah.
some of the stuff that you will do or are doing is because it was passed on from so and so to so and so and so. Like, they don't tell us. They don't tell us. And then we bumping up against the wall and wondering why we keep hitting our head and getting bloody, because we don't want to do this, but yet we're prone to do this. And so I want to say that raised voices, generational curses is a thing.
Yes.
Period. It's a thing. And we have to learn how to, in our individual lives, how to denounce and how to speak against those things so they loose us free to go do what we got to do.
Absolutely.
Like, seriously, like, you have to break a lot of these things because they won't tell us. I'm going to leave the day up in the air.
No.
Blacks, y'all know what they mean. We
Yeah.
don't even know who they is. They is all of it. All the people over there that we can't say.
Everybody.
Those who did not speak to me and give me the information. So that's one thing I want to say is that sounds to me like generational curses. I'm discovering that too, because in my family, we're known, especially the women, to be aggressive and temper.
Oh,
And
yes.
I did not know that's a generational curse. I was just like, this is how we are. We West Indian, we Caribbean, and you claim these things and you're putting on these clothing
Yes.
that you should not be wearing. And so, Ms. Sans, I know you have something to say. Before you go on, I want to say, hearing your story thus far, though, man, I mean, you were set aside, though, in your family. Because when you're saying to me, I wanted to protect those that came after me, I wanted the buck to stop with me, I was going to take on the hurt of the world in my world so that it didn't drizzle down to anybody else. That says you were set aside for something greater and everything was trying to come against you. Because for you to be free, you would have broken those generational curses already. And you had to be stopped, for lack of a better way. I'm sorry. I knew you were going to start something. It sounds just because I'm getting all churchy up in here now. Because
you have to. You got to speak to it when you hear it. And that is the development in itself. Is just identifying it. Like we were taught about wise mind, and I say it to other people, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like your rational state and your emotional state, right in the middle is your wise mind.
yes.
Is learning how to react and deal with life without the over dramatics or being way too rational that it just doesn't fit in, and it's not practical, right? We can't. It's not tangible. We can't grab a hold to that.
Yeah. And faith is one thing, but if it's not given to you in a way that you can walk it out in your life at your age, it doesn't help you.
Yes.
Right. We can't just give you this overarching, because you said that mom, there was faith. I had access to that. I had access to believe. I had access to something greater than myself. But that access never came to me in a palatable way that I could receive it, digest it, and help stop some of the craziness around me. And so it just didn't make it to me. Like, I knew it was there somewhere in the ether.
Yeah.
That's about it. So Miss Sounds, go ahead, because
I have it's like a two-parter. One is that I hear a thread of invisibility being a part of your story, just not feeling visible. No one sees me. Does Jasmaine still feel invisible? When did that shift from external invisibility to what was the transition from external invisibility to now, you know what, I see me and I'm visible to me and that's all that matters? When did that happen? And then the second part, I won't ask too much to like overwhelm it, but part of the invisibility is that people don't see you. And in the beginning we asked, Azali asked, who is Jasmaine? and you said, I'm in progress. So I'm wondering if maybe it's not it's not a something you can directly pinpoint and say, I am this. What were you not? Right. And what did people like in your invisibility, that season of just being really invisible? What did people think you were, but you weren't? That's not who you were.
Okay, so I'll touch the invisibility part first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I got the good girl label, right? I started to overachieve. I would go to someone's house, and as soon as I walked through the door, I was cleaning, I was cooking, I was doing hair, and this started at 9. You understand? Like, I'm taking all the neighborhood children. We having picnics in the projects, in the little black fence, in that nasty grass. We
Yeah.
were doing it. And that's how I kind of came out of that. It was very unhealthy for me. But this still are things that I'm dealing with because I'm still an overachiever. Saying no, oh my God. That took me a long time to even play with it. And if I did say no, it wasn't that I couldn't. It was how I felt after the no. I felt like I was letting people down. I felt like, I was hurting people when I said no. Like there was no one else that could do it. Now, rationally, I know there's several people. If I don't do it, it's going to get done. Somebody got to do it. But for me, in my mind, and I still battle this to today, if I don't get it done, nobody going to do it. And that was the transition. I can't say it was the best transition, but it was what gave me comfort at the time. Now, what people thought I was, that I wasn't. Oh, that is so loaded. Because it could go either way. It could go left,
Right.
Yeah.
or it could be really good, right?
Yeah.
So people thought that I was the perfect child, but I was human and I needed help. And I could say I needed help and they wouldn't believe me. Still to now, to today, like I've gone through a lot. And when I reach out for help, and I barely do, people say, girl, you got this. You're going to get through this. We're going to do it together. Right?
Yeah.
And then you call them and they be, oh, well, what you need? Oh, all right. They can't do it. They can't provide. And that shaped me a lot. What else did they think I was? They believed I was a pushover. So I was the person who could not see somebody else being bullied. I could stand up for everybody else but myself.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, my sister.
I remember like my little sister, she got into a fist fight with this girl. This ain't have nothing to do with me. My little sister was bad, okay? She was bad and she messed with people. But this girl just so happened to be a bully as well. So, and she's a little bigger and they wanted to fight. And I remember being like 12 or 13 years old and my older sister said, you let your sister fight by herself? Y'all didn't, you let your sister lose a fight? And I had to go back and I had to beat that girl up. And that has been the trajectory of my life. Like I'm defending other people. I get in trouble for other people. I've been arrested a few times, especially in my youth, but I have only been arrested once for myself out of the times. I've only fought once for myself for something that it was me that the problem was with. I have always fought other people's battles. And
we vibing for you.
yes.
The next initiative, I can come and volunteer. I'm done. So much in your story. Wow. When I tell y'all, risers, when I tell you we're doing things organic, we did a pre-interview. We didn't get this deep because I like to bring you all the deep so y'all can see our real reaction. I didn't even know that we have some parallel stories, because that thing of saying no, Miss Sounds, when we talk about this, I don't want to leave nobody on the field when I think I can pull you to rescue. And I made some dumb, years long dumb decisions doing that, not understanding that a friendship needed to be terminated. But because there was history, I was not going to walk away. But I'm
Oh,
bleeding. Like I am bleeding. I'm bleeding. And I mean years.
I've done
That
it.
word no was hard for me. I mean, the
Mhm.
guilt that I feel over or felt, it's not my kids would say no is my favorite word because it is. It took years. It took 20 something years to be able to say no and not feel like you just neglected another human being. What's up with you? Why you think you better because you walking away for your safety? I had a whole conniption. My mind was inflamed with guilt and shame for saying no, especially if I know I could do the thing, even though I know it's going to cost me much more than I was willing to pay. The fact of that person having a bad thought about me saying no was so much more my handicap than the pain and suffering and mental torment I would have after.
Mm.
So I would just say the yes, even if I didn't want to do it.
Because
It
our
costs.
worth
Yeah,
somehow becomes how other people see you.
correct.
That's how you gauge what your value is when you're
Yes.
stuck in it, because that's what I pulled from it. You're getting your value from outside external resources instead of from yourself, which is why it's so hard for me to transition from retiring, because I was a soldier. Like
Yes.
this was my mindset.
Yes.
So with a lot of those, it's just learning the triggers and how to overcome them. We have words to describe them now. When I was
Yes.
coming up, I couldn't really pinpoint, I couldn't push that pin in what I was feeling. But now we kind of have the verbiage to speak out loud what
Yeah.
we were doing.
The other thing is there's a warning here for parents who, especially when you're an intentional parent. So I don't mean I'm meant to give birth. I'm talking about, okay, I got my kids, I'm in this thing. Like we go all the way,
Yes.
right? I want you to be somebody. Mommy and daddy go, we also gonna be somebody because we don't want you growing up and then we stuck back into time because we said we're raising you and we didn't even do nothing, to raise ourselves with you along the journey. This good kid thing, check in on them. Just check
Mm.
in on them. My
Mhm.
kids know that if I ask them how was their day and they told me okay, I have a whole conniption about that. They might get a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know what okay means when you say that to me at your young age, because okay for me was different when I was coming up. I don't want to assume my okay and your okay is the same because we are years and years and years apart. So I tell them, I don't know what that means. I'm allergic to those answers. I said, do you need me to just email the teacher real quick and find out how the day went? Because apparently you have no data for me. And so now, because I said that for so long, now when they say, okay, I just give a look. And then, oh, well, what I meant to say was that up, that, 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 that. I said,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So cool. Things are cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
don't want to be that parent that, as busy as I am with all the entities I'm in, like you said, I got good kids, but then I miss that my good kid is having an anxiety attack. I miss that my good kid has an issue with their best friend at school, that things are shifting and they're a little bit confused as to why the best friend has another best friend or whatever the situation is. Or they have a situation where the teacher spoke to them a certain way and the teacher didn't mean no disrespect, but they're looking at like, you ain't my parent, so you don't get to talk. I could miss these things as nothing.
Mm.
But it's something to them because if it's going to impact the way their mindset is about people and themselves, I can't miss that. I can miss a couple. I can't miss too many.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Sounds, go ahead. You got to come back. I know this is
Yes.
part one. You
I
gonna have
am.
to come back because I mean you getting me. Go ahead, Miss Sounds.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take my breathing lessons right now.
You, you mentioned I see a parallel in you kind of transitioning away from being a soldier to being off duty, and then in your actual life really growing to be off duty as well from these tendencies to want to please people before you listen to yourself, right? How has that been for you in this transition from an off-duty actual soldier to now a off-duty soldier in your actual life? How has that been?
Oh God, that's hard. It is very, very hard to deal with my civilian life. Because we were so driven by the regulations and laws and different things we had to uphold, and you got to uphold your morals and values too. So working with the general public again and seeing some of the things that happen, and the law is not held in regard, and the way they operate is so illegal, but there's really nothing that you can do about it. So it has been really hard for me to accept that bad things are going to happen and people are not going to do a thing about it. And
Mm.
I think that's been one of the biggest things for me. It is scary. I feel like some of my safety was taken away. A lot of it was
Mm.
taken away with that, not just like financially or, having that structure. It was more so of the safety aspect. I know my brothers and sisters are coming to get me. You understand? It was a family. It wasn't just
Mm.
a job or a career. This was my life, and I
Mm.
lived it
Yeah.
for a long time, and it's hard to undo that, especially
Mm.
when it wasn't your choice, when it's just something that's thrown on you.
Mm.
Um, so accepting the way I'm gonna say the real world works when it comes to politics and all of these different things with being in my position, it's been difficult. It's been
Yeah.
real difficult. And to learn certain things about people that you will hold in regard usually, um, it's heartbreaking. It can definitely obscure your view of things in life.
Yeah. And
So you
even
said
you,
structure. Tell me, because structure, when someone says structure, coming from the hard life, that's what I'm going to call it. It might be the real life, to be honest, for most of us, but I'm going to just call it the hard life.
Yes.
What was structure then, and how has that changed now? And then becoming a soldier, that was a different kind of structure. And now becoming a civilian, that's a different kind of structure. So you have a different world definition of the three big time structure came into your life.
Yes. So growing up, there wasn't really like a rule book. Like you just knew certain things weren't supposed to happen. But sometimes those things happen. So there was really no structure as far as what I can expect. I have to plan. I have to know what's going on. Like you got to tell me, hey, Jasmine, we're going to do this day at this time. This is, if I could get it down to a dress code, I'll get it all the way down to the dress code. What do I need? Because in the military, when I went to that side of the house, it was right place, right uniform, right time. And that's how I started living my life. Right place, right uniform, right time. Whether that be in my civilians, uniform, whether it be my mommy hat, wife hat, right place, right uniform, right time. And that also kind of expanded upon my trauma, because a lot of the rules and the harshness that was put upon me, like the way I chew to this day, comes from my childhood. Close your mouth while you chewing. While you smacking. Don't do that. Don't make them noises. So now I have it. I chew. I don't make no sounds, no noises. I do my little dance. But since a child, it was certain things you weren't allowed to do. The structure that was there. Um, and then you got into the military. I have to relate things to kind of put them together if you don't know this yet. But with when I went into the military, you knew what you had to do that next day. You knew what you had to do for almost a year out. They're planning these schedules. So I knew what my life was going to look like. And I planned my civilian life around that and input it. So now being outside where I don't have to be so anal in regards to my schedule and my structure, and I'm the person now that's the CEO and calling the shots, I still have to have the structure. I still have to know what's going on. Like I can't run a youth program and not know what the next step is. Oh, that drives me crazy. Oh, it
mm,
drives me absolutely nuts because I hate to walk into something that's unstructured. Plan it out. Where's the money going to come from? The food? How are we going to kick the kids from A to B? Where's all the documentation? Is everything legal? Are we going to have enough funding? These things I have to know, I have to plan out. I just can't jump into a situation and not think about it, especially being a mother and a wife, because these things fall back on them too. And essentially, this life that I'm building is for them. I can't take it with me. It's to leave for them when I'm gone so they can pass on to their children, because I didn't have that. So you start to create your own structure and build towards that, the future.
Miss Sounds, go ahead. I know you had a second question. I apologize for the interruption.
No, you're all good. I would say that you were a soldier before you became a soldier.
I would say so too. I would say so too.
You were a soldier before you became a soldier. And the beautiful thing is that I think that you were a soldier by you needed to be a soldier before you became this other soldier. The soldier you became is the one you chose to become. The other one was imposed upon you that you had to be that way. And I'm interested in this transition to civilian life as the soldier you chose to be, but the transition to civilian life from the soldier that was forced upon you to become. Can you talk about that?
So we want to talk about the left side. So my younger soldier compared
Yes, if that is okay with you.
Oh, that is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So to correlate, I had to fight for others, right? But I also had to fight for myself. But the way I knew how to fight for myself didn't work, wasn't feasible. I did pray. I did spend a lot of time alone as a child. I did look at things that I wanted to do, but I knew, when it wasn't going to make sense. My parents don't have the money. How am I going to get here? I can't take modeling seriously after this program because we can't pay for it. So I started to map things out. I started working at 12. I was folding towels in the laundromat. I knew I had to provide for myself because my mom was unable to. And the way my family was set up is they're going to look out for you, but they're going to make sure they're good. They're going to look out, but they're good. There's a difference.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll buy you a bag of chips and some juice, but I'm going to go to the steakhouse and I'm going to make sure I eat, or I'm going to go grocery shopping and make sure my food is right. So those were the types of things I had to deal with. And as a 12-year-old, and even thinking about it, because my son is 12, I got to go make money so I can make sure I have my personal necessities, the ones that I know I need, that my body is for me. I had to learn my hair very early, because who gonna do my hair? When my sister don't feel like doing it, I still gotta go outside. And sometimes going outside after a couple times with that standing up on your head, you're gonna figure it out.
Oh, yes.
What works for your hair? What gel you can put in there? Can I combine my Luster's pink lotion with my grease and my little gel to make it slick blue? Can I do my baby hairs? Can I put my little ponytails with my lollipops?
Yeah.
Those things I learned. I
Yes.
learned. I was relaxing hair before I got to high school. I was relaxing my own hair, taking care of my health. I was also doing hair for others. So I started to build my little empire where I was for survival.
Sure.
And then I had to take care of the ones behind me. Like I was 17, 16, signing my little sister in for school. And it wasn't because my mom didn't want to do it or she was negligent. She was sick. She couldn't do it. The older siblings, they had their own lives. They was worried about different things, so they weren't going to do it. I knew I had to enroll myself in school, but I didn't want my sisters to go through that. So when they had to go to school, or they needed to be changed out of school, or they needed somebody to show up, I showed up. And sometimes that took away from me. But I knew I had to care for them. When my nephew was born, I was 12. A lot of things happened at 12. And my sister had him really young. She was 15 when she got pregnant, 16 when she had him. But that was my baby. I did everything with that baby. When my sister wanted to go outside, hang out with her friends, do different things, I had him. When my mom was too sick to watch him, I took him. It got to the point where I started standing in that mother role in the house for certain things. And I couldn't even go to Fresh Air Fund after that baby was born. I couldn't leave him, not my butterball.
Yeah.
But at that age, I was experiencing all of these feelings that I shouldn't have. Like, I shouldn't be taking care of this child. I shouldn't have to provide for myself. When I was receiving funds, I didn't know that till I was older.
Oh yeah,
But
that's the thing.
it was to the point I didn't know anything about credit. I didn't know about banking, and I had to teach myself that. I had to teach myself a lot of these things. Like, I didn't know about student loans and paying them back off and different. I'm looking like free money. FAFSA, fill out FAFSA. I get some money. My parents don't make no money, so I'm getting full rides, okay?
Yeah.
And it
Gotcha.
was building that structure for myself. It worked at the time. And
Yeah.
I adapt to my environment. I always do. And with the soldier, I had to become basic training, AIT. I can think about it. The soldier, I had to become. It didn't start in basic and AIT. It didn't start in my training. It started a few years in, because I still felt invisible. So I became invisible to them. If we didn't have a formation, if we didn't do those certain things, I would hide. And I still was invisible, but I made sure all my I's were dotted and my T's were crossed. I still had to be the overachiever. I had to be promoted on time. If I wasn't promoted, that affected my whole being.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
could get sick, but I wasn't going to tell them what I was going through in my personal life. I'm going to tell you guys I'm in a domestic violence shelter, different things. So these structures, they're built, but they were faulty. So now it's just trying to transform into the soldier I need to be without that and without the trauma and knowing better, right? Going back to the word. When you know better, you got to do better.